in sales, there's only two metrics, right? You're either growing or you're dying. There's the top 10% of salespeople in 7th level, or even in the industry, and there's a 90%. So you've made it to 10% in the company.
Yeah.
That's fact. With your revenue, everything that you generated, you should be extremely proud of yourself. What's your best advice, or what's some words of encouragement?
Yeah.
So here I am, Dan, management, been here for 5.5 years. I'm with Kai,
Sir.
right? Kai, when did you start at 7th level?
I started here in January.
January.
Yeah.
And according to some people, you were in one of the trainings before this.
Yeah. I was in 2.0 and then Inner Circle as well.
So, I mean, a lot of people would just stop at 2.0. What caused you to like want to get the most advanced training that we have?
Yeah, I mean, I just believe in like Jeremy and NEPQ. Like when I was going through the portal, I just like wanted more of that, like, you know, industry specific help as well as coaching from like the best reps like in the sales game. So
what were you selling prior to coming to 7th level?
I was doing SaaS. Like I sold like government SaaS. Yeah.
Government SaaS. That's a completely different process.
Yeah, 100%.
To what, B2C selling?
Yeah.
So what led you down the path of like, right, well, these guys were like top coaches, top trainers, Jeremy Miner himself.
Yeah.
What led you to want to join 7th level?
Yeah, well, like I want to be surrounded by the best.
Okay.
Because like I want to be the best. Like I want to master the skill of sales. So there's no better vehicle to do that other than 7th level, because the best are here.
So that's why I respect Kai so much, because he didn't have to be here, but he chose to.
Yeah.
Right? So let's talk about your journey, right?
Yeah.
Coming to 7th level, you're competing against basically salespeople.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you come in selling to governments, then selling to salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going through your mind at that point?
It's well, you would think that government officials would be worse, but it's actually different because we're selling to salespeople. We're a sales trading company, so they know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, they just try to one-up you, try to mess around. So, like, because they know that you sell sales training.
What was the difficulty with that? Like, because you knew that, and that's what a lot of the leaders mentioned to you, like, hey, you're selling salespeople, so you've got to be, you know, more tactical.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be so obvious with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So when that happened, I mean, you grasped the concept, but when you were actually live with your prospect, how did you manage that?
It was very difficult because, like, at that point in time, I was super intimidated because, like, I didn't really have any, like, I never sold to salespeople and I didn't have any, like, social proof to back me up. It was just, like, super intimidating because I knew that they were in sales and they were probably more successful than me at the time. So
that's what a lot of times people feel like. They're like, selling sales training is easy. Yeah, once you get good at it. But when you're dealt with not knowing industries, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing like how to find a pain point because you don't know how to diffuse sales resistance, especially if the resistance is already higher, being a salesperson versus salesperson, like it's very difficult for someone to actually open up.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest thing about, I mean, you had the techniques, you had the scripts, but what was the hardest thing about, you know, selling to salespeople for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like you can have the scripts, you can have the techniques, but once you actually get in it, it's like a whole different ballgame, right? Because you have to be like quick. You have to be quick on your feet in the actual conversation.
What made you feel like you had to be quick on your feet?
Yeah, because you never knew what these people were going to throw out to you.
And that's why a lot of the reps that train on the 7th level, if they ever want to do their own thing, right, they become the best at what they do.
Yeah.
Because it's so like technical, this sale.
Right.
All it is a pure skills game.
Yeah.
Like sales is a skill game, but this is skill level on a different level now.
100%.
Because how different was it from you doing NEPQ, selling to like government bodies, compared to, you know, learning NEPQ here with me, Jeremy and the team, right? Selling NEPQ this way.
Yeah, it's like completely different ball game because with those prospects, they can't grasp NEPQ. They don't know what it is. So they're not aware of what you're doing. But with these salespeople, they're familiar with Jeremy and the brand. They're familiar with NEPQ, so they know what you're trying to do to them. So it's just a bit different. So you have to be more nuanced and just better than them overall.
Can you give us the example of like a nuance? I mean,
Yeah.
what would be so technical about selling salespeople?
Yeah, so let's say, just for example, in the beginning of the call, just diffusing that sales resistance. Like a lot of people don't know how to do that, especially if you're selling in a different industry. People already have their guard down, right? But as opposed to salespeople, right? Once again, like they know what you're doing, so their guard is up. So you have to be nuanced in the way you actually diffuse that resistance.
I mean, a lot of people diffuse the resistance once in sales. How many times would you have to do that throughout the
consistently throughout the process? Always be disarming.
Always be disarming, right?
Disarming, yeah.
And that's a real thing here.
Yeah.
So you had your first call. I mean, you went through like things got in your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
When did you feel like you had like a breakthrough?
So it was, for me, it was February, right? Because like the January, I mean, I wasn't the best. Then I started seeing more success in February. That's when you came in, right? Because there was no training in January. You came in February. You started training up the guys, right? So I actually knew what to do on these calls, right? Because I was getting feedback from you. So that's when everything shifted to where I actually know what I'm looking for. I know like the outcomes of each question, like you taught me.
It's been mentioned a few times on, I guess, like these talks, right? Outcomes. Like, I don't think anyone has mentioned scripts so far.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the outcomes. Like, why were the outcomes so important when selling salespeople?
Because it's like you can have a script, but if you don't know why you're asking the questions, then the conversation is not going to go anywhere. You're just asking a question on the script. But if you know the outcome of what the question you're asking is, it's much easier to continue the conversation because you know what you're looking for. So boom, got it. Next stage.
So for the new hires, even existing reps that are in this company, give us an example of like, well, what outcome, right? So give us an example of an outcome you'd be looking for when you're in your NEPQ process and actually on a live call.
So for example, like the rationale question, right? So with the rationale question, the outcome of that is you want to get them to admit that they can't solve this problem on their own, right? So you stay in that stage, you stay in the rationale until you get them to admit that, because if they don't admit that, you can't move to the next stage.
Why is that like a big problem though? Like you don't have like a certain phase, like the outcome of the phase. Like why is that a problem? With the next phases of the sales process leading up to it.
Yeah, and so I got this analogy from Marco, right? Each stage, it's like you're shutting a door, right? So it's the most efficient sales conversation to actually make the sale. Like you did everything you needed. So if you leave a door open at the very top, that's an out for them not to actually want to commit because you didn't get the outcome you're actually looking for in one of the stages prior.
100%. So what Kai's saying is on a sales call, there's certain doors you need to shut and certain doors the prospect needs to shut because your questions get them to internally persuade themselves, where it gets them to literally influence and persuade themselves.
Yeah.
If you can't get someone to say that something's not working, what are the chances that they're going to actually buy at the end of the call, Kai?
Yeah, very low.
Very little, because you don't have enough leverage and they don't have enough doubt. The only reason why people truly purchase anything is because everyone knows it, there's pain. But they have to doubt the pain that they're in and the solution that they're using to get the actual outcome they need to get the result. Without that, you're just telling them things, and that's why a lot of people don't make it in sales, because it goes out one ear and goes through one ear and out the other. Yeah. So I'm extremely proud of you. Yeah. Right? And I've always had your back. I've seen you from month one when I came in February to where you are right now. Yeah. Right? Now that's the biggest problem with high ticket closers, because they just demand marketing book leads and they don't have the skill set to make the company money. God forbid something happens to marketing. And that's why 7th level reps, the ones that are at the top like yourself, John Mao, Luca, right? They have the skill set to produce. There's ever a period where, let's say, just something happens with lead flow. What do you do now, Kai?
Yeah. So, and this is a technique that you taught me. It's like who's got my money, right? So there's different avenues you can take rather than just relying on inbound calls or like marketing book calls, right? You can dial up no sales. You can do outbound. You can, run an implementation call on a current 2.0 client to like upsell them, right? Because now you have the skill set and you're equipped with the skills to do outbound and implementation. So you can find money without having to rely on marketing.
I wanna have the audience here, whoever's watching, right? Kai, from being a little bit like, is the word insecure when you first started at 7th level to your top month.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your top month. I mean, from the reports, I'm hearing it was 200K. Those are crazy numbers, right? Cash collected, right?
100%. Yeah.
So talk to me about that. I mean, from being a little bit insecure, talking to sales reps, to that number, which is astronomical, and that's a huge achievement.
Yeah.
How and what did you do?
Yeah. I just think it's actually applying the feedback that people gave me that I know that are better and who have walked the journey. For example, like I listened to every single thing you said and I actually implement that in my calls.
You did.
So
You
it's
did.
like there's already a path that somebody took. You just have to follow their footsteps. And then at that point, you'll actually have the skills because you did exactly what they did. So it's just more so just learning from everybody consistently. Like I wasn't even worried about the cash collected. I was just worried about, did I get the outcomes I needed on this call? Based off what Dan taught me, based off what Casper taught me, based off what JP or Yash taught me. Right? So it's just more so getting the feedback and implementing it into like what you're actually doing.
That's so important because like so many people try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Right? We train clients, right, from our selling our products and services, and we see them try to reinvent the wheel. Then we have reps that come in here that try to reinvent the wheel, but they don't need to. Sometimes the most easiest way is to do it the most simplest, right?
Yeah.
It's just the question you're asking, but there's the psychology behind it, a little bit of tonality. But overall, we seem to get in our head a lot. But I'm so proud of you because now you can actually use this and have that skill set for life. The amount of work ethic the top reps have, such as Kai, Luca, John Mao, Kevin Pham, right? We got Adrian, up and coming reps that are just doing amazing things. They're just dedicated and they don't leave until they get the job done. So obsession is, it's in sales. There's only two metrics, right? You're either growing or you're dying. There's the top 10% of salespeople in 7th level, or even in the industry, and there's a 90% that are just doing what normal salespeople do. So you've made it to 10% in the company.
Yeah.
That's fact. With your revenue, everything that you generated, you should be extremely proud of yourself. And I want you to give a few words to some of the guys that are seeing you right here.
Yeah.
It might be 2 years from now, it might be 6 months from now, 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Like they're just starting. They feel like you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's your best advice, or what's some words of encouragement?
Yeah. So I would just say to really put your head down, and rather than focusing on earning the money, focus on learning the skill set, because the skill set will ultimately yield you the money. So it's just like training consistently, right? Getting that feedback consistently, making sure you're listening to people that are above you and not being ignorant.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kai. That was amazing. I'm glad to have you on. But all the best for your sales career, and I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
You know it.